My name is Lori Conlon. I work at the National Institutes of Health as part of the Office of Intramural Training and Education. I run both the Postdoc office and the Career Services Center. Today we're going to talk about finding the perfect postdoc experience for you. Many of you are graduate students and thinking about what's next steps for being a postdoc, or perhaps you're a postdoc now and thinking about finding another postdoc experience. There's a lot of things that you can think about to make sure that this experience works best for you, both for your research experiences and also to set you up for your next step in your career. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of things. We're going to talk about how to make sure you pick the right advisor, how to understand the different projects that are going to be available to you, understanding the research environment and also the research group and how they fit into your overall happiness, understanding the institution, the location, and how this postdoc will set you up for future career steps. One of the first things that we often get asked is, how does a postdoc differ from graduate school? That's a really good question. There are a lot of ways it does differ. One of the biggest is that you get a lot more freedom to do the type of science that you want to do. It's a great way for you to think about a new experience and to think about perhaps a new research technique, a new model system, or a new different type of science that really interests you and that you feel passionate about. The postdoc has a lot less structure than you do as a graduate student. There's no more classes. It's up to you to decide how to set up your day typically. And there's no more academic milestones. So there's no committee structures. There's no making sure that your dissertation gets in a specific day. So there is a lot more freedom from that particular ability. The other thing that a postdoc gives you is the ability to move on, either to a different lab or a different career path or a different scientific research opportunity. It gives you the opportunity to broaden your horizons to move forward. You do need to ask yourself whether you really need this step. Is a postdoc really necessary for the career path you're going towards? If you want to be an academic faculty member, absolutely, you have to do a postdoc. Even if you want to go into industry, for the most part, a postdoc is a valuable research experience. But if you want to go into other career paths, say teaching or writing or science policy, this is the time you actually question whether a postdoc is actually needed. If you've done your preparation as a graduate student, it is possible to transition from a grad student into some of these other career paths. If you have not yet done any preparation for those jobs, the postdoc could be a great opportunity to gain additional skill sets to make that career transition once you're ready to go. Let's first talk about your advisor. Picking an advisor is always an interesting experience. This is somebody that you're going to be working with for the next 2 to 5 years, and you want to make sure that it's somebody that you really like, that their research interests are good, and that it's somebody you can come in and work for on a day-to-day basis for a couple of years. The first thing to look at is, what is their leadership style? Are they someone who is hands-on, who likes to have a lot of information given to them, or somebody who's hands-off and perhaps traveling all the time and isn't really there? All of us need different things from our bosses and from our PIs. And so some of you may say, I want someone who's a little bit more interactive into my project. Others of you will say, I want somebody who lets me be able to really run my own course and do my own job. So you have to weigh the leadership style and find ways to ask questions to the advisor to figure out which way they work and if that fits towards you. We have some fantastic resources on our website about how to actually determine whether the leadership style of advisor is really the best for you. The next thing you really should expect out of an advisor is someone who's going to support your career path, no matter what career path that may be. You want somebody definitely who's going to say, hey, you want to be an academic faculty member? Great. Here's some past successes and other postdocs who've come out of my lab and how I've set them up for success. Have they offered them the chance to write a K99, R00 award, or any other type of fellowship, and get additional experiences, maybe mentoring a summer intern, so that if you're going to go off to that faculty job, they're setting you up for success. If you want to go into industry, have past lab members gone into industry, and then you have the immediate network in order to make that transition into industry. And if you want to go into some other career path, whatever that may be, Is that person going to be able to support your decision no matter what it is, as long as you still give 100% to their research efforts? It really is something that making sure that you're still doing the best science you can while you're preparing yourself for that other career path. You also want to look to see where they publish. Are they publishing a lot and often? Do they publish large papers or small papers? And then how do they publish papers? Is it something that the whole group works together and they move them through very quickly? Or is this perhaps a person who it takes longer to get something published out of their research group? All these are perfectly fine opportunities. You just want to know what you're getting yourself into when it comes time to publish the research that you're going to go do in this particular group. You also need to know what types of journals do they publish in, and are those journals the types of journals that you want to publish in? Are they the right level of publication? Will they set you up for that next career step that you're going towards? Big question you need to know from an advisor is what kind of financial support can they give you? Is it defined, or are you required to go off and get your own financial support? For example, my postdoc advisor had the general rule that after you've been there for a year, you need to write for your own fellowship. Is that what you're expected to do? It's not that it's positive or negative to have to write for your own fellowship. Again, you just need to know what's expected of you so that you are setting yourself up for success. Another question is, do you want someone who's a tenured faculty member or somebody on the tenured track? They both have pros and cons. Someone who's on the tenure track needs to publish often and publish fast, but they're also trying to make their own name. So you have to make sure that you can make your name at the same time that they're making their name. If someone is actually tenured, they actually have probably more money, more finances, more resources, and they have the ability perhaps for you to stretch your wings a little bit more. The con could be maybe they're not around as much and you're not going to get as much as one-on-one attention. Just something to look forward to and look out for as you're moving on to the next step. The last thing you need to look for in an advisor is what is the project and how do projects work within this particular research group? Is it something that the boss defines and then you work on that project? Or is it something that you're expected to come up with your own research questions right out from the start and get ready to go on those right away? It's not that you're not going to come up with your own research questions as your postdoc progresses. It's just once you come there, is the project handed to you and you just have to get going on it, or is it something you have to come up with from scratch? The next step is, what does the advisor expect from you? Because you can expect a lot. You need to know how much money they have for you. You need to know how much project they have from you. But they expect things from you as well. What they're looking for out of a postdoc as compared to a graduate student is someone who can do independent thinking. Someone who has already gone through all the training to think as a scientist and to think outside the box and know how to solve problems when they come up. We all know that in research, it's called research because we have to do it again and again. But the reason you get a PhD is to be able to think about how can I change the next steps and how can I make this project move forward. And that definitely is a level of independent thinking that increases between a first-year graduate student and a postdoc. And so they're expecting you to have that independent thinking capability. A postdoc advisor is also looking for someone who's able to lead a project. Even if the project is given to you and you're supposed to run with it, you're expected to come up with the questions, how you're going to solve this, and really be independent and lead this project to success. They also hope that you have a faster time to publication. Since you're already trained and you know how to think as a scientist, it should be faster for you to publish. Not many graduate students will publish in their first or second year, but many postdocs will start publishing in their second or third year of their postdocs. The next thing that an advisor is often looking for you to be able to do is to be able to supervise or mentor another student, perhaps a grad student, an undergraduate, a technician, or someone like that. How do you make sure that their projects move forward as well as your projects move forward? And lastly, an advisor may look for you to provide your own funds. And you should be looking to make sure if that is something that's required of you and expected of you, that you have the support in order to make sure that your fellowships are successful within the peer review process. Great, so we've talked about how do you pick an advisor and what your advisor can expect to you, but the next step that's so very important is to make sure that you understand what the research group or your lab mates will be like. These are the folks that, even above and beyond having an advisor that you work with every day, these are the folks you're working shoulder to shoulder with, and you want to make sure that this is a good fit for you and a good fit for them so that everybody gets the most work done that we can. So the first question to look at is, how big is this lab? Is it a big lab or is it a small lab? Big labs are typically 10 people or above. Small labs can be as small as 5. Both of them have pros and cons. Large labs have the pro that there's lots of people who have different scientific thoughts and probably resources, and also probably lab or research group history. So they know where everything is, they know what's been done in the past, and they know how to make sure to keep you in contact with the other people that perhaps have gone through the lab. The hard part about large labs is sometimes you can feel lost in the shuffle because there are so many people that perhaps you don't get the kind of attention that you need. The boss may not have enough time for everybody. In small labs, the benefit is that the boss will likely have time for you and have a lot of opportunity to discuss science one-on-one much more often than perhaps in a large lab. The cons to a small lab are there's not a lot of people to bounce ideas off of, and you may have to make sure that you understand the rest of the research groups in the labs around you to have more scientific discussions to make sure that you can move your science forward the best way you can. Another question that you need to ask is, do people generally get along with each other? Are they friendly? Do they share birthdays? Do they do things on the weekend or in the afternoon? Do they support each other? Do they just generally seem like happy people that like to come to work? Do they have that life outside the lab that makes them a whole person? That helps you to understand the work-life balance for this particular group. Another question is, how long is a typical postdoc spend in this particular group? Is it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Is it something that they have to go on and do a second postdoc from, or is one postdoc enough? Understanding the length of the postdoc is very important. And then again, where do people go? Do they typically go to academic faculty positions? Do they go to industry positions? Do people go everywhere? And then can you make sure that you have that network when it's time for you to move to your next career step? Another important part about picking a postdoc is really understanding the institution that you go to. It's not enough to just understand that you're going to a particular PI or a particular research group, but the institution also has a lot of important factors to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. You should definitely look for a place that has a postdoc office or a postdoc association. This makes sure that the institution as a whole understands postdoc issues and is looking out for the happiness of postdocs at their place. You should also look for what the standard pay scale is for postdocs. Most places will follow the NRSA guidelines, but they don't have to. So you should understand what the postdoc pay scale is, and if it's something that on a year-to-year basis, your salary will increase because you've been there for an additional amount of tenure. What benefits are offered to postdocs, what health insurance is offered, do you have discounts on tuition, and then also what kind of research facilities are there? Are there a lot of shared equipment? Is that shared equipment in good shape, or does everybody have their own? Another question you have to ask yourself is location. Where do you want to live? Do you want to live in a large city? Do you want to live in a small college town? What kind of place do you want to live in? And also, where is your family? So if you have a partner or a spouse or children, where do they want to live as well? How far away do you want to live from your parents? Do you want to live all the way across the country or across the world? How far away is too far before that becomes untenable to make sure that you can get home for family obligations? And last is money. Don't forget, you're going to make the same amount of money likely if you're moving perhaps to New York City or Albany, New York. So the funds will go a lot farther in other places, but the science may be better someplace else. So you have to outweigh the benefits of the science, the money, and the cost of living and see where's the best place to live for you. Another thing about when you become a postdoc is to make sure you're looking out for additional mentors, both for your career and also for your science. This doesn't mean that you need an additional PI. It just means you have more people to talk to about career options and setting yourself up for success, both scientifically and for your career. Having additional mentors is something that we often talk about in the lands of postdocs, and in fact, I think we have a couple other videos on that on our website. The other thing about being a postdoc and finding additional mentors is this is additional people that down the road can write you letters of recommendation. You no longer have that committee around you that you can rely on for letters of recommendation. Often we get asked, how do I find a postdoc lab? You know, I see all these ads for postdocs in the back of Science and the back of Nature, but I don't hear a single word when I send off my resume or my cover letter or my research statement to any of those particular labs. Well, that's not really how you find a postdoc. Finding a postdoc really is doing through networking. It's looking at science and seeing who has the best science out there and the science you think you'd be really passionate to work on. Whether that's looking at people's publication records, finding people at scientific conferences that you want to talk to. The benefit also of finding people at scientific conferences is likely there's a postdoc or a graduate student there. So if you think that their lab sounds like an interesting place to do a postdoc, it's a great time for you to talk to the grad students and postdocs currently in that lab and see if it really is the type of place that would fit your needs. Online resources are good. Things like ResearchGate or PubMed, things like that really can help you find a postdoc position. Think also about the people who come to your home institutions to give scientific seminars. They're great people to ask about postdocs, not only just in their lab, but if you have a particular scientific passion, to talk to them about other research groups that are at their home institution and thinking about networking to a postdoc from that particular perspective. The other one is recommendations from colleagues. So if you have postdocs who are currently in your lab, for example, asking them, I'm thinking about doing a postdoc, who would you recommend? If you could do it all over again, who would you go to? Or at the institution where you did your graduate work, would anybody be a particular good postdoc advisor? Using your network makes sure that you end up in a terrific mentor's lab and going to set yourself up for career success. When it comes time to apply for a postdoc, it's never too early to start. In fact, 12 months out is not too early at all, even if you don't know your exact graduation date. The reason is that postdoc advisor knows that perhaps someone is leaving in the next year. And so if you start making the connections and the networking and applying about a year ahead of time, they perhaps will hold that position for you once that person leaves. So it's never too early to start and to start networking. Absolutely start the process at least 6 to 12 months ahead. And then a typical postdoc application, after you've networked so that people actually know you perhaps, is a CV, talking about your research experiences, a personal statement of research interests, perhaps even your career goals can go in there, and probably at least 3 letters of reference. You probably don't need to have these in hand and ready to go. It's probably something that the advisor will ask for, and then we'll probably call them or ask for letters once the process is already going in. For the most part, it's just an email, Dear Dr. So-and-so, I'm really interested in your research group. I've been reading your papers recently that have been in XYZ journal. I think your research is really fascinating. I have this kind of background and I think it fits in well. It looks like perhaps you're moving in this direction. I'm very interested in moving in that direction as well. Do you have time to talk, perhaps, about potential postdoc positions within your research group? That's the typical email that you would send with your resume or CV attached to that. The last thing is to make sure that once your postdoc is set up, that you're preparing for success. When you're looking at what you should do as a postdoc to be successful, doing great science is something you have to do from the day you arrive to the day you leave. Science is the most important thing that you're doing. But there's a lot of other skill sets that you need to learn regardless of the career path that you've chosen. Verbal communication skills, writing skills, teaching and mentoring skills, leadership, career exploration, and doing a job search are also all part of being a postdoc. Some of you may have fantastic writing skills from your graduate experience. Some of you may still need to work on that. So how do you make sure that you get the writing support that you need? Same thing with verbal communication skills, giving seminars, giving job talks, etc. How do you make sure you get the support you need once you're there? Teaching and mentoring, that's not something typically you're going to do first thing out of the gate. Something probably that's going to come through in probably your second or third year of your postdoc, teaching, mentoring, supervising people. unless you're really considering teaching as a future career. If so, you should definitely look at the IRACDA, IRACDA fellowships that the NIH funds throughout the country. These are terrific teaching fellowships that go along with research to make sure that you're prepared to teach perhaps at a small liberal arts college. Leadership is also important as an additional component of being a postdoc. Leadership can come from things such as joining the Postdoc Association or other committees, perhaps. This shows that you can balance your time as a good citizen of the department as well as get your work done, which is important regardless of the path you choose next. Career exploration should be something that you do right at the beginning. If you don't know what's next in your career step, this is the time, right when you join, to really start thinking, how do you think about what step is next? Even if you're thinking about a faculty position, it's a good time to do career exploration at the beginning, thinking about the types of institutions that you may want to go to after you finish your postdoc. But that job search, the resume, the CV, thinking about your interview, etc., that's not something you're going to think about until you're about 6 to 12, maybe 18 months from about finishing your fellowship, your postdoc. One frequently asked question that often comes up: can I just do my postdoc in the same lab or at the same institution? Perhaps. It's not uncommon for graduate students to take a short-term postdoc, 6 months to a year, in the lab that they're currently in order to wrap up projects. And this won't hurt your career path at all, not one bit. It's very common. But after that, it's a great time for you to start thinking about switching institutions in order to make sure that you can see the breadth of type of science that happens and to see if science is done differently someplace else. If for family reasons you need to stay in the area and stay at the same institution, I'm still going to recommend that you try to change departments. So perhaps you're in biochemistry, maybe go over to microbiology. This just helps to make sure that you're getting a broad range of experiences even in the current institution that you're already in. Another question we often get asked is, how important is the pedigree of my advisor to my overall career success? That really depends, and it depends some on where you want to go next. More important than the pedigree of your advisor is how productive you are as a postdoc. Are you getting publications? Do you have great research? Do you have mentors who can talk about you in great letters of recommendation? And do you have the experiences that are going to set you up to be competitive to apply for the positions that you're going after? Yes, pedigree is important in some cases, but it's not the only thing that makes you successful. How about, can I get a postdoc at an institution where I want a long-term career at? Maybe. If you're thinking about a faculty positions often do not hire from their postdoc population. If you're thinking of a different career path, perhaps science writing, doing a postdoc at an institution you want to work at could be okay, because you can perhaps go get experience in some other environment that then helps set you up to move into a long-term position even within that same institution. The NIH does have a lot of postdocs in their own postdoctoral program through the Intramural research program. We have about 3,000 postdocs on the various different campuses in Bethesda, Frederick, Baltimore, North Carolina, Montana, Michigan, Arizona, and Massachusetts. 90% of our postdocs are actually here in the DC area, Bethesda, Frederick, and Baltimore. We have postdoc opportunities for both citizens and non-citizens, but you have to come to the NIH within 5 years of receiving your doctoral degree. We have an Office of Postdoc Services and also a fantastic postdoc association called FELCOM that's been in existence for almost 20 years. We have a variety of leadership and professional development opportunities to make sure that you set yourself up for career success. We have another video on why it's so great about doing a postdoc at the NIH. You should check that one out too. We have lots more resources about being a postdoc on our website, www.training.nih.gov. From there you can link to our blog, which has lots of information about postdocs, picking a mentor, and other types of topics, as well as other articles on our website. Thank you for joining me today for Picking a Perfect Postdoc. I wish you the best of success in your postdoc, and good luck.